Hello everyone, welcome to a new session of memoQ webinars. This is a session about LiveDocs and will be given by Balázs Keys. Balázs is one of the founders of Kilgrave and he's also a memoQ champion. And well, let's give the floor to Balázs and let's start.
Today I would like to talk about the one of the well-hidden gems in memoQ. So whenever colleagues come to me, people come to me and ask what are the most important differentiators that really make a difference between memoQ and the other tools in the market. Probably LiveDocs will be one of the first two or three things I come up with, and that's because LiveDocs is probably the most versatile resource that you can have in memoQ. And if you didn't notice, it's there in every memoQ project. Let me just show you something before going on. I am assuming that you know the basics about memoQ. If you don't, please visit our website and check out the various training options that there are there, because I won't be able to show them. However, whenever you create a project using one of the templates, for instance, 1 TM per client template, it will give you a LiveDocs corpus as part of the project. So LiveDocs is practically there in all the projects, but because we have these nice templates that you can use to create projects, you don't always notice them. So this is the time when I would like to call your attention to this icon with the drawers and the word LiveDocs. And this is the way you can process reference documents in memoQ. And like I said, it is the most versatile reference resource ever. One LiveDocs resource is called a corpus. Why? Because in linguistics, a corpus is a collection of text, all kinds of text. And there's one requirement to a corpus in computational linguistics, is that it has to be electronic. It has to be processable with a computer. And in other words, I can say that a LiveDocs corpus is a collection of documents, but it's not as simple as that. If you look at the second box in this slide, a LiveDocs corpus can contain 4 types of documents. You can throw monolingual documents at it. Actually, you can import the same types of documents in a LiveDocs corpus that you can import in a memoQ project. Or you can have bilingual documents. I'm going to get back to that. And this is the place that you use to align documents. So if you don't have a translation memory, if you don't have, if you have documents from the time before you were using cat tools, then you can throw them at memoQ, and memoQ will align them, and you can use the results. And you can also drop binary files, like, I wouldn't say PDFs, because memoQ will attempt to process PDFs as text, but images, complex files, whatever, and then you can open them and look at them. So again, for reference, you can store them in there. Binary files are the least used parts in LiveDocs. And it's not only, it isn't only collecting documents, it also works. It gives you input. It can work very much like a translation memory, because it will offer matches in the same style a translation memory does. And you can also search in LiveDocs corpus through concordance. And as an additional benefit, you can always look at the documents. You have full context. It's not just the kind of context that you get from translation memories when you get 101 or 102% matches. But you can also look at the document where the match is coming from, or where the hit concordance match is coming from. So it does a lot of things. And it's been there since 2010. But it's never, well, I never have enough of talking about it. So I would like to show you 4 things today. One of them, possibly the biggest topic, is alignment. I would say alignment in a breeze. I'm going to tell you why. And the second is concordance, what you can do with concordance, how I recommend that you use concordance against the LiveDocs corpus. The third part is how you restore context if you have to take over translations from another translation tool. And I am also going to show you how LiveDocs fits the big picture of all the resources that work together in memoQ and all and the translation environment that you can use in memoQ. And in particular, I'm going to talk about the Muse in connection to LiveDocs. So that is the agenda for today. And well, I'm saying content enrichment here, and actually this is a term that is being used recently, but I actually mean it, because also the name LiveDocs means a lot, because all these things that LiveDocs can do to the documents brings additional life to these documents. So it really is something meaningful when you talk about this. So let's talk about alignment here. It's in a breeze, because what you do in a LiveDocs corpus, you just add a pair of documents, memoQ imports them, aligns them, and then you're getting the matches immediately. So in theory, aligning things and getting matches from document pairs in memoQ takes a few minutes. I would say it's not as simple as that, because, and let me just show you, this is what it looks like in real life. I can add alignment pairs, there's a command for it, and then I can add source document, and then I can add a target document, just to give you a taste of what it feels or looks like when we are working on it. I'm going to cancel this because I have already added this document pair. It is not necessarily a problem adding the same document several times. I'm going to tell you when and where it makes sense, but not now. So back to alignment. So you can use the results right away. It might not be the most sensible way to go. It actually depends on the quality of the alignment. And one of the good things here is that if on the whole alignment is correct, you can go on and use the results from the alignment. You can see that a LiveDocs corpus will give you the same kind of matches, fuzzy matches, exact matches, context matches, as a translation memory would. But there are a couple of different differences. One of them, if in a hit you notice a problem, notice an error, like you can see it on the screen now, because for the translation of installation and activation guide, it actually offers the German translation of all rights reserved, which is, well, not correct. What you can do at this point is right-click this thing, this match, and click Show Document. And then it will jump to the document. So as long as the alignment is correct, you have nothing to do. You can use the matches. But if there's something wrong, you can jump to the document and fix the part that had the problem. And this has a big advantage. That's what I usually say to people, that you don't have to look through the alignment, review the alignment up front. So you don't have to skim through all the alignment pairs that you have added before you can use the matches. If alignment is good on the whole, but there are some problems as you go, you can use the matches and jump to the documents as you go. So it's you don't have to fix problems that wouldn't occur to you because you wouldn't get the match. You only need to fix the problems that you encounter, and that saves a lot of time. Not to mention not having to wait until everything is reviewed and confirmed and everything. So if you are short on time and the alignment is more or less all right, then this is what you can do to save time. However, when there is a problem, now let me just show you how it looks like. Let me just go to this document. Possibly, yeah, it has already. I'm using a different corpus where this has already been fixed. Nevertheless, I can switch to a different corpus. Okay. This is how you can actually change the corpora. That's the plural for corpus. Corpora that you use in memoQ projects. You can use as many as you wish, and there is no such thing as a primary or a master corpus, because you don't confirm segments into a memoQ corpus in a LiveDocs corpus. So that's sort of easier than it is with translation memories. Yeah, I have the wrong corpus now, so I can show you the problems, or so I hope. Yes, we have this. And if I right-click the problem match and click Show Document, memoQ will bring up the alignment editor, and which is also what you see here. And you can actually correct this. For instance, all rights reserved is alle Rechte vorbehalten, and then you just click Create Synchro Link. It's the same as confirming a link. There are links between sentences. So the way alignment works, I'm going to return to that. But then the view changes, and it's fixed. And also, if I want the installation and activation guide to be aligned properly, now that's tricky because this is in a different order. So I can create a crosslink. Crosslink means that this link is out of the normal order of the segments. So you can have this. But once I fix this and go back to my segment, I no longer get the incorrect one. So the point is, I didn't want to teach you how to fix the alignment, how to use the alignment editor. For that, I'm going to refer you to a help page that describes all these actions I've taken. My point is that I did some quick and dirty fixes to the alignment. I went back to my document without closing the alignment pair, and I'm getting the right kind of hits already. So that's how easy it is. And what I didn't talk about is, it's all fine. Let's go back here. It should be a 100% match, an exact match. Don't bother about the mistranslation for the moment. It's supposed to be a 100% match, but memoQ treats these with suspicion. You see, the match that it's not only incorrect, but it comes from an unrevised alignment link. And when memoQ knows that something wasn't confirmed by a human being, it also knows that it has to be treated with a pinch of salt, so it takes away some points from the match rate. So normally 85% means 100%. Why? Because the link was not confirmed. If a link is confirmed, it's blue. It's either you create it by clicking create synchro link or confirm all auto links in the editor. And the document itself has to be confirmed. So you can confirm a link and you can tell memoQ that, yes, I've looked through this document and I confirm that this document is aligned properly. And then I can click this alignment is finished checkbox here. And only if for a link, for a segment pair, only if both are true, the link is confirmed and the document says alignment is finished, only then will memoQ give you the full match rate, meaning 100% or 101%. Otherwise, there are penalties. So again, here, well, why is it 90%? This looks like an exact match. memoQ takes away points because there are settings in your project called the Corpus settings that specify penalties. And the default penalties are -5% for a link that hasn't been confirmed by a human being, plus -10% for a document that hasn't been confirmed by a human being. Of course, you can change these settings and say that I don't want penalties, but you wouldn't want that, because an alignment algorithm is never correct, never fully precise, let's say that, never fully accurate. And of course, it's from the quality perspective, it's always the best to review alignment and confirm everything. How will it more precise? What affects the accuracy of alignment in memoQ? Well, it definitely helps if documents are the same format. There are alignment tools that require that you align two documents that are in the same format. It's not a requirement in memoQ. However, for best results, you would want to use documents that are in the same format. So it's not always a wise idea to align a Word document with a PDF file, for instance. And if the two documents compared to each other don't, if the translation doesn't contain insertions, deletions, or order changes, and if you align files like structured XML or Excel files, you can take advantage of the so-called structural alignment that memoQ supports. That means that memoQ will use the natural structural boundaries within the documents and then only try to align the sentences inside the structural units, like cells in a spreadsheet. And yeah, here on the screen you can see an alignment where in the first 9% there everything is wrong. And the reason for this is that the English document was edited after it was translated into German. So the German translation is not brought up to the latest English one, and that's what it results in. Further on, this gets better, but still, it looks pretty frightening here. How do you fix it? Well, to understand this, you sort of need to know how alignment works. So I will jump ahead one slide. What memoQ is doing, it takes into account the order of segments and also the length of segments. This is one of the oldest alignment algorithms. So it will occasionally join and split segments on one side or the other to match the lengths more. This works better for certain language pairs and doesn't work so well for others. But on the whole, it will give you decent alignment results if the second document is truly a translation of the first one. However, it will also score the links, which means that you can use the terms in your term base as anchors. You can use bold, you can use the bold, italic, and underline formatting. You can use to and you can, well, it's not you, it's memoQ. You can use the inline tags to score and to make the alignment more precise. But on the whole, it's based on the order and on the length of segments. So back here, so let me show you something worse here. Let me just, not here, I'm going back to the other, yes, here we go. Yes, here we are. I can open the alignment pair for editing from here as well, not just from the matches. No, it's not the one that I need. I'm sorry. Why is it opening like that? Yeah. Yeah, much better. Okay, so for instance, this guide leads you through the installation and activation procedure, has the translation of the Premier translation environment for individual translators. What do I do here? This is definitely a misalignment, not the first part. One of the reasons is that the original English sentence was translated into 2 German sentences, and the 2 German sentences together are much longer than the original English sentence. So, but I can fix this. I can join these two segments, link them by hand, and then I have a correct alignment. And then from this point on, I'm not going on and fixing everything by hand. I will run the aligner again, but only from the current segment. And in most cases, it will almost, we have a force, it will almost always even out. Sometimes it's overeager and join segments on a whim, but we don't need this. So you can do stuff to fix it. Like I said, this is not the best example because the English text was edited. English document was edited after it was translated into German, and stuff like that. But this is basically the logic of it. Run aligner from the current segment again. And it's getting much better. So the point is that you don't align everything by hand. You just fix the problematic parts and then run the aligner again. And here on this slide, you can see the help page. You just go to help.memoq.com and look for the term alignment editor, and then you get the page. Or open up the alignment editor and press F1, and the same thing will open up for you. So this is why you can learn what commands you can use. I don't have time to show everything to you here, obviously. So, and when you run the aligner, you can change the terms. You can change the options here. And you have all these options when you add the document pair, and you have all the same options when you run the aligner again from the current position. So this is how accuracy is influenced. I was trying to answer the questions I received before the webinar, but obviously if you have more questions, I will be happy to answer at the end of the webinar. The second thing that you can use to access the things that are in a LiveDocs corpus is concordance. Well, that's concordance from memoQ fast. It's not what I mean, but it was also called concordance. If you have been to memoQ fast, you could see it, but I don't mean this. I mean this. There can be a lot of bilingual content in a LiveDocs corpus, alignment pairs, or bilingual documents. How do bilingual documents get into a LiveDocs corpus? Well, you can receive bilingual documents from another translation tool, or you can actually, sorry, I'm going back to the translations pane. When you are done with the translation, you can actually add the document directly to one of the LiveDocs corpora in your project. So, and that's what I do to be safer. For instance, I'm managing legal translations for memoQ, for our company, and I'm not satisfied. I won't be satisfied just to add the translations to our legal translation memory. I also keep a LiveDocs corpus where I always add documents that have already been translated. That way, I have them in two places, and I can leverage them in more than one ways. And actually, and from the LiveDocs corpus, I can have different forms of leveraging things. Not to mention the context I get, because the document is kept in. Like, that's the big difference between the corpus and the translation memory. Translation memory is always torn apart into sentences or into segments, while LiveDocs corpus always preserves the documents while giving you the same kinds of matches as a translation memory. And you just concordance searches LiveDocs as well. For bilingual documents, you can search from the source side or from the target side. The second thing, the third thing you can have in LiveDocs corpus is monolingual documents, and they can be everything. They can just be documents to provide you with to provide you the context. However, what I use them for is to check target language translations. I sometimes find myself translating legal text from Hungarian into English. Now, my first language is Hungarian, not English, and I'm not always sure about things. So I will look up, I will think of an English term and then look it up in LiveDocs from my existing body of work, or anybody's existing body of work in the field of legal documents for memoQ. And of course, I'm also using the memoQ web search, mostly to search Lingui, but yeah, that's how it does. But this is what I use monolingual documents in LiveDocs for. And from here again, I can always jump to the document. And this is only possible if you run concordance on a LiveDocs corpus. Because with the LiveDocs corpus, the document is always there, but you will get bored if I repeat it too much. So that's important. And I want to show you one more thing. I think I'm going to go back to, yes, I wanted to show you a list of matches in the translation results pane, where memoQ gives you the suggestions from the existing, all the resources that you have in the project. And you just at the bottom, notice that the orange hit here. So the thing that I call automatic concordance also works here. So it will identify expressions that occur several times in the corpora in the translation memories, and give you a hint that this is something that is worth running a concordance search for. So that also works with LiveDocs corpora. Okay, I'm jumping back again. Sorry about the disruption in the display until I get to my target. The third great thing about LiveDocs is that it can restore context when you have none. So when you have a translation memory from a different translation tool, for instance, if you use Trados Studio and you export a translation memory in a TMX file, and you import the same TMX file into memoQ, you won't get the context matches. You won't get the 101% matches. Why? Because Studio stores the context for segments in a completely different way than memoQ does. However, if you if you have the documents from the same SDL Studio project, then you are better off by getting the document, for instance, an SDL XLIF document, and importing it in a LiveDocs corpus, because that way you will get the context, or any bilingual documents. That way you will get the context, not from a TMX file. And you can import all sorts of bilingual documents into LiveDocs corpus. Actually, the same kinds as you would import in the memoQ project. The arrows show the bilingual documents on the list of documents that you can import into LiveDocs corpus. And even with the TMX, it's funny, and it's something that Kevin Losner pointed out at memoQ Fest. I wasn't aware of this, and I'm really grateful to him that he pointed this out, that you can actually, if you get a TMX file from a foreign translation to a different translation tool, well, don't import it into a translation memory, because you can import TMX files as documents in memoQ, in a project as well, but also in a LiveDocs corpus. And this is what you do. You import the TMX file in the LiveDocs corpus, and then you will get the order-based context. And it's good because in legacy TMs, and that's what Kevin found, the segments are actually in original document order. Or most of the time, they are in document order. So the context you get is not 100% accurate, but still much better than having no context at all. So this is how it is. You can use LiveDocs to reconstruct the context if you don't have other ways to access it. And you can get it out. So once you have your bilingual contents in LiveDocs corpus, you can always export it to a translation memory in the same project. Or you can export the whole thing in an XLIF file. So you can actually take a LiveDocs corpus and, well, transfer to a translation memory, or you can transfer it to another copy of memoQ, or because it's XLIF, you can transfer it in a way or another to a different translation tool. As a document, for instance, you can send it as a document to Trados Studio and then confirm the whole thing into a Trados Studio TM if you want. So in that way, it's quite transparent. And let me, because we are running out of time, let me show you the big picture. And I'm going to show you one of the, show you in slides, because time is short. My other favorite feature in memoQ, actually in the memoQ translation editor, one of my favorite features is predictive typing, especially when the muse is fired up and trained and is giving you the hints. Because you can train a muse from LiveDocs Corpora, and then it will give you predictive typing matches. And in that way, and the muse is actually, it's not like term extraction, but it's more like a machine translation, a statistical machine translation model. The reason it's not as sophisticated as a machine translation engine is that it's expected to give you the next 2 or 3 words instead of the whole segment or sentence or the whole passage of text. So it's allowed to be way more simplistic, but the principles are the same. It's statistical, it's based on the translation model. So the hints you get from the muse has to do with the source text and has to do with the text you have already typed in the target text. So that's one of the reasons I like it. And LiveDocs Corpus is perfectly suitable to use as training material for the muse. The muse, let me show you in the project. You also have the muses as resources. And if you create a project from my favorite template, which is 1 TM per client templates, that's the kind of template that separates the resources by client. And you can always train and retrain them. The only problem I see here is whenever you make a change to the resources, you need to retrain them. And if you use the muse, I do recommend that you retrain them from time to time. Maybe start every other day by retraining your muse, because you will get much better hints from it. And repeating documents is good for the muse, precisely because it works through statistics. It's a thing when you repeat the content to get, in a way, better statistics. It's called data manufacturing. So you can actually have the translation memory with the same segments, and you can have a LiveDocs corpus that has the same content in the form of a bilingual document, and so on and so forth. That will give you additional leverage when the muse is concerned, when predictive typing is concerned, and will also be more accurate because of the reasons I'm listing here in this slide. And also, it's predictive typing that brings together all the results, because if you look at the list of matches in the translation results pane in memoQ, predictive typing works for everything that isn't a match for the entire segment and has a translation. So it works for the automatic concordance when memoQ is able to find a translation for it. That's hit number 3. Well, the terminology doesn't have, this term base doesn't have a German equivalent for guide, but if it had, it would also be available in predictive typing. And also, well, the empty concordance that you see at the top is not yet available in predictive typing. Like I said, it's always a work in progress, and I could imagine 1,000 ways to improve LiveDocs and the way it interacts with the rest of the resources and the translation editor. But the way it is right here and now is still, I think, makes it a gem as far as translation tools are concerned. So I think that's it from me for today, and I'm awaiting the questions. I could go on for hours and hours and hours, but we also have to remember that it's summer, and we may have other things to do, at least for a week or two.
Okay,
so
there are a couple of questions.
Thank you.
I have selected that I think could help many users. So one of them was if they could import PDF files into LiveDocs.
I'm sorry, what files?
PDF.
Can you just PDF? I think they can. Let me just check. I wasn't aware that they can't. So let me just import something. And well, yeah, you can import PDF files. The thing that you cannot import is PDFs through TransPDF. So the best way to import PDFs into memoQ is through TransPDF, which is a fairly recent development that you can't import into, or I think you can't import into LiveDocs. But even then, if it suits your purpose, you can import it in a memoQ project and then get the document into the LiveDocs corpus. That said, that works if you don't want to use it for alignment. If you want to use it for alignment, well, for PDFs, I always recommend that you use an external tool to convert it into a Word document and look at it thoroughly before using it in any translation tool, because PDF is not a text format. So yeah, the answer is yes and no.
Okay, there is another answer also from Alison Wright. She says that you can import PDF files, but alignment will involve many splitting and joining of segments. And thank you for also sending the message. And
oh, yeah.
Sorry, there is another question that I guess might be useful for other people. It's from Caroline, and she says, is there a point to save a file you just translated with memoQ into LiveDocs? She naturally thinks that the TM is the place for storing that kind of files, but she says that she sees people doing this and she wonders why.
I do it. I also do it. And if I didn't mention it during the presentation, I'm sorry about it. But the thing is, I'm using this at least with the legal translation we do at memoQ itself, and I have two reasons to do it. One of the reasons is safety. So I have my translations in more than one place, and that's important for me, especially when it comes to legal translations. I have the TM, and I also have a LiveDocs corpus where the documents are stored. And then the other thing that has to do with the advantages of LiveDocs, that I have the document. So if I don't only receive a match 100%, 101%, but I can also, because the document is there and it's intact in LiveDocs, I can always look at the broader context when I need to. This isn't possible with the translation memory. So that's my second, but equally important reason to store the translation in a translation memory and in a LiveDocs corpus. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, and there is one more question. I'm not sure if this was actually meant for LiveDocs. It's from Mariela. She says, can you change settings such as the number of multiple versions stored once a translation memory was created?
Multiple versions stored. I'm afraid you need to be a bit more specific. Multiple versions of what? Because normally a translation memory will only store one version for one translation for a segment, unless you create a translation memory that supports multiple versions for a source segment. So a segment with a certain context will only have one translation in a translation memory. So I'm not sure I completely understand the question. I'm sorry about that.
She just said multiple versions of the same translation. That's the question, basically.
Multiple versions of the same translation. I wouldn't do it because what I care about, what I want to recycle, which seems to me rationally optimal, let's say that, is that if I have the final revised version of a translation, I want to recycle that and no earlier versions. So yeah, usually I don't see a point, but I can imagine scenarios when this would make sense. But normally I would only want to see the latest version. So, for instance, when it comes to LiveDocs, I wouldn't save the document in a LiveDocs corpus from a memoQ project before before I know it's final. So for instance, if I work closely together with a reviewer, I would probably wait for the reviewer's version before to get back the reviewer's version and save that in the LiveDocs corpus.
This is the end of this webinar, and we hope you've enjoyed it. And we hope you will join us in our future sessions. So thank you again, Balázs, for this great presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gonzalo, for hosting it.